This is Gabriel from Punk Globe Magazine, waiting for Rebecca Lee Russell, who was our guest today. So we're going to have a good chat with her right now. I'm going to admit her right now. Hello, Rebecca. Can you see us? I see iPhone. There you are. Hey, you look great. Yeah, it's perfect. I don't see anything wrong with this. Interesting. That's really interesting. Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
Who is Rebecca Lee Russell?
Rebecca Lee Russell is a performer, a writer, a video director, a film director, and currently in the UK, I am a drag king.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So when I was living in Vancouver, I wanted very badly to join the drag scene, and it's drag queens. There was only drag queens, but I was really jealous of the drag queens, and because it's such a liberating art form, and it's so fun. And the idea of taking a genderless, not maybe one that you've associated yourself with, and communicating what it means to you, if that was your alter ego, if this is a part of who you are, it seems like the greatest, most fun thing to do as a performer. And so I went and I came up with a persona named Noir. And I went and I was like, okay, well, who's Noir? And I thought, well, as a man, I would like to be like a David Bowie or a Prince or a Leonard Cohen or a Brian Ferry, sort of a very elegant man, maybe not so a macho of a guy, and
a little bit effeminate.
Yeah, and a feminine man. I thought, I could feel that with myself. I could feel that kind of, maybe step into that. And then I practiced a couple songs. I practiced Slave to Love and I'm Your Man by Leonard Cohen. And I was gonna maybe do Prince, but I was like, well, I don't know if I'm impersonation, like a celebrity impersonation drag king. I think I want to be like a performance art, just maybe my interpretation of who the male performer is. And so I got all dressed up and I went to, there's a gay bar in Vancouver, and I asked Miss Adrian, who's a good friend of mine, I was like, please, can I go up and just do one song or something? And she's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, this is for drag queens. And I'm like, well, I just want to do, like, I'm just trying to work this through. I don't know. There was no community. No one was doing it. So I went up and I did it, and it was really scary. And that was the hardest part, was like, it was sort of terrifying. Worrying.
I think that's brilliant, because it's always drag. We associate men doing women, but I've never heard. I'm like surprised right now and questioning myself. How come we've never heard have women doing men? I mean, it's done very. What was it? What was it?
Victor Victoria.
Not Victor Victoria being one of them. What was the old one? Liza Minnelli.
Well,
she didn't play a man.
No, yeah. But Marlene Dietrich did a movie called Morocco. And right. In it, and that was when she came out and was wearing the iconic tuxedo.
Right.
And her doing that kind of formed how I would play Leonard Cohen, because Leonard Cohen is like Marlene Dietrich. And she plays this guy part. She kisses a girl in the audience. She hands out roses. And really that became my act. And so I did it. It was terrifying. And then I thought about Noir a lot, and I heard that a whole scene popped up in Vancouver.
Wow.
called Man Up, and it was run by this like incredible performer, Paige, who is known as Ponyboy Curtis, and he invited me to perform there, and it was at the Cobalt, and it was a huge scene they
Wow.
had. Yeah, it was like just all these young young female performers that were doing drag, and it was a fantastic night, and I had a great time. And so when I was here in London, and I was staying at the Ned Hotel, and it's run by Richie Notar, who is the original busboy from Studio 54.
Wow.
And yes, and the movie is actually about him as a busboy in a mink coat, going to pick up black beauties for Halston.
Wow.
He'd wear his fur coat and get fries for them, and he knew Warhol and Liza Minnelli and that whole scene. And then he went on to start Nobu restaurants, and so he's working here, and I was staying at the Ned Hotel, and we became good friends. And he asked about, they do drag there.
Wow.
And then I said, I'm a drag king. And he's from New York. And he said, what's a drag king? And then I'm like, well, it's like a drag queen, except it's more performance art. It's more cabaret style. It's a little bit more vaudeville,
right,
than drag queen does. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. How have I never heard of this thing? And then he's like, do you think you could go out in London and find me some drag kings? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Cause you put on shows before. I've been on shows before. Do you think you could get dropped into a strange city and find a punk community and put on a show? Probably.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, like you probably could do it. Our friends could do it. We would know how to find it. So I went to the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which is the oldest gay bar in Europe.
Right. That's in what, Berlin or?
Here, it's here in London.
Oh, it is here in London. I just read about that.
Yes, and I saw something. I just did a little research, and then I saw they had a thing, and it was called the King of Clubs. And I'm like, oh, I bet that's a drag king night. And so I went down, and oh my gosh, it was next level drag, because it's British performers, and they're mind-blowingly incredible on stage, of course.
Love it.
But these kings had been getting their act together. It's a phenomenon here. And I spoke to them, and I said, would you guys like to do a show in mainstream at the Ned? And they came, we all met, and we put on a big show, probably, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Huge success.
Wow.
King Frankie Sinatra, who's the host, he asked the audience, how many of you have been to a drag king show? It's like nobody. Like in mainstream, it just hasn't hit mainstream yet. Everyone loved it. I'm performing with their 5th year anniversary night at the Vauxhall next week.
Who was the audience?
It was the Ned, and the Ned is like the Soho, in LA.
Yeah.
It's the more for like bankers instead of film execs.
Right.
So it money.
Yes.
It was conservative money, but the Brits love their drag like of anybody.
That's great. I love that. Did you
so
get any of it on film?
Yes, because there's a drag king filmmaker who came for the night.
Wow. Excellent.
And filmed it. And the performers, like there's a couple of these performers that blew my mind. And I saw them all, and I'm like, you know what? You guys are ready to tour. Like you guys could tour to New York and play. You could play the Lido in Paris. You could go do a North American tour as British drag kings. And I think like people do, they have that what is it appeal. You know, no one knows what it is yet. You'd have people coming to see you just because they haven't seen it before.
Right, right. I don't think we have anything like that here in America. Not that I know of, not at all.
Yeah.
Do you know of anything that's going on like that, which I find really interesting?
It's sort of like the Sex Pistols in here, and it just is going to come and sort of break as an art form in the States. I think the reason why it hasn't really caught on is it's hard to do.
Wow.
It's first of all, not a lot of girls want to go out or be on stage with the beard.
Interesting.
And defeminize themselves, especially in LA or any kind of like, you have to get past this feeling that if I put a beard on, I'm not sexy. But I do my noir and I feel really sexy. I feel empowered. I feel sexy. I like it. You have to get over that feeling first. Then the other part that's hard is that like they refer to me as the lip syncer because they can all sing all the songs like even though the girls they can put their voice down at a level, and it's like going to a drag queen show where no one's doing any lip syncing. They're all singing like Diana Ross. They're all singing like Cher. They're all singing like Whitney Houston, and they're killing it. Like these kings are so talented. I really like. I was like, oh man, I found the kings, but I'm gonna have to really up my game here because they're amazing.
I love it. Is this something you will be pursuing here on a long-term thing? Is that a project?
Yes. So Noir was in Mexico last year.
Wow.
Because I wanted to direct a low-budget, like Mexican lesbian vampire movie called Vampiro y Vampira, and it's about a vampire that is like a man, like Noir, but also is a disco vampire rock star, Mexican rock star, called Lino. Yeah, so I wrote a story, and we're talking to Bruce LaBruce, who's the legendary director of gay director and cult, icon. And what we kind of needed to do, because it's basically a drag king movie, Mexican movie, is kind of get it out more, have people know what it is, just to really raise finance for it, because no one knows what it is.
Will it be in Spanish?
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of shoot it like Nosferatu, sort of like a silent movie, and because it's really low budget. Wow. And then we're going to do all everything in post. We're going to do a Spanish version. We're going to do English version, and I can't speak like Noir, so I really need a voice to do Noir's voice anyway. Mm-hmm. So we've been talking to a couple of people about who would be the right voice for Noir, and it's a vampire movie. But yeah, we're gonna just shoot it on the fly, and then get like an Italian The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just do all the dialogue after to give it that.
That sounds. When do you think that'll come to? When will it be released?
Well, I think we're going to start shooting pretty soon. We're going to start we'll start shooting in, I think, October.
Wow. That's soon.
And well, we went there, we did the casting. We have the most amazing cast. We're shooting it in Zihuatanejo, Mexico, which is actually where fires are supposedly from. And it's the Shawshank Redemption beach where he escapes to, And so it has like a real connection to film and story and horror movies. And so we have a lot of it set up. We were just here, and now because of doing the drag show in London and having Bruce and Bruce possibly being attached as a director, then we have a much better chance of, like, you know, I'm talking to this company. I don't want to, you know, say, but with the finance people are now talking to me, and
I love it. That's great.
Actual money. Whereas before I couldn't get, they just couldn't wrap their brain around what it was.
Right.
And now they see, oh, this could have an audience. This could be a future phenomenon. This could have something.
Right. Are you going to do any kind of like fundraising for the film or anything? Because I remember, do you remember the first film Saw? That
yeah.
I heard that guy did a 15-minute version of Saw.
Oh yeah.
And that's how he got his funding.
Oh, that's brilliant.
He
yeah,
like 15 minutes and gave an idea, and they said, "Okay, we want to do that."
I love that, and I was thinking about doing that, like a little pitch that we put out, and we wrote the pitch that we would do. So it's really possible that that's something that we could do. I know with Saw, the great, like, you know, the amazing thing about Saw is how easy it is to understand the concept of what's going to happen in this movie, and then, you know, do I want to see this or not?
Right.
And of course it happens right away of people. Of course, that's something, you know, that's a built-in audience. And because this is a genre movie, it's a horror movie, it's a vampire movie, it's a lesbian movie about Mexican vampires. That's
People
got an audience as well.
People love vampires.
They do.
The twist you're putting on there is even more intriguing because it hasn't been done.
Well, I'm actually a little bit of an expert on lesbian vampire movies, and I'll send you a list of some of the great lesbian vampire movies, but they're awesome.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a number of them that are really amazing, and they're always really low budget, but they're you know, they're campy as hell, and they're just wonderful and fun and kind of fit into the vampire milieu.
Did Roger Corman do one?
Roger Corman
No.
did do one, actually. That was a lesbian vampire movie, and it was like, well, it was gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gothic.
That came and went. I know that, and it's definitely probably a cult classic under.
Well, there's Hunger.
Huh?
The Hunger with
The Hunger.
Catherine.
One of
That's
my favorite movies. Yeah. That was
yeah.
a beautiful movie. Well, I wish you a lot of blessings on this project.
Thank you.
It sounds wonderful. Can we back up a little?
Sure.
Lick the pole.
Yes.
10 years. And it's no more?
Well, you know what? I know that Annie wants to get back on stage again. And Chris Taylor, our drummer from the Paolas, he's kind of, I mean, he doesn't play with the Paolas anymore. I think it's hard when you're, I bet he would do it. I mean, everyone's in, of course, Rich Prisk is unfortunately, tragically no longer with us, and he was the great bass player of the band. But
a bass player. I love the band. The band is so tight. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is Tool meets Rage Against the Machine makes to these great girls just really laying it down punk rock style. It was great. I had so much going on there.
We were so lucky. We played an after-hours show with the White Trash Debutantes, and we got a call the next day, and it was Chris Taylor, who was working at Much Music for Terry David Mulligan, and he just asked us for a video, and I'm like, yes. We had the phone. I'm like, we gotta make a video. We also have to write a song for the video.
Wow.
And so we wrote I'm like, what should we write? It's like, let's write the Lick the Pole theme song. And so we wrote that, and like the Monkees, we really, it was like the Monkees basically. And then we did the video, and then by Monday morning, Terry David Mulligan was interviewing us and put the video out, and then we were in rotation on the Wedge right away. And then we almost won Worst Video of the Year award. We lost to the Meow Cats. We were very disappointed. Yeah. And then, but the band, really, those players came to us the day after we had played and asked if they could independently be part of that band. I mean, Rich came from one area, and Chris came from the other, and Bill came from the other, and Tony Baloney came from the other. And then Rave joined and did our sound on most of our shows, which is why the sound is so phenomenal, and he did mixes of it. So we had, Dave Ogilvy, who's one of the great producers and mixers in the world.
Wow.
And we have Bob Rock helping out, and we just really lucked out in one of those ways that never happens that way, but it did.
Well, it does. When it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen, and that's why. When I'm like looking at this band, I go, boy, this is great. This is, you can't deny that you like this band, unless you're just totally not into that. But, I took one look and I went, oh, I totally get this. I totally get it. So I love it.
Very nice. We had a blast.
When was the last show?
We did a show without Jules. She was supposed to show up. And she didn't make it, and I believe it was more than 10 years ago. I think it was like 15 years ago, and it was at some place on Granville, and a lot of people showed up. Todd Kearns was there. All the Canadian guys in the scene showed up for it. It was a good show. But we didn't really break up. We just kind of like decided to we all have our own things going on. I mean, we didn't, it really never, we're in Lick the Pole to have fun. We didn't know it was going to be, we'd be headlining at the Commodore all the time and opening up for the Cramps and doing all these things. We just really wanted to play a couple gigs, have some free beer, and maybe a rider. This is like the height of what we're really hoping for.
That's amazing. I love this. I love this story. Just amazing. And so there are plans, talks about maybe doing it again.
Yeah, we're talking about it. I know that Jules is somewhere. Jules of Fabula, the legendary Jules of Fabula, she's out here in London, and I'm trying to track her down, and I'd like to track her down. I'm in touch with her family, so we're all kind of trying to track her down. She was living half the time in Thailand and Bali, and then kind of here. She's has a presence here. It's like a lot of people know who she is, and I don't know, where is she? She might be back. She's an amazing person. She lives by her own rules, and if you're lucky, she comes back into your universe, and then things happen. So I'm putting it out there, and if I find her, definitely we will make it happen for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm getting the feeling talking to you that you kind of know where you're going without really knowing where you're going, but you want it to happen, and it happens.
I think that's, you're right. I know. I think
a very Zen approach. Do nothing and everything gets done.
I think that's the best. I've become friends here with Marianne Faithfull's grandson.
Wow.
and Oscar Dunbar, and he's a performer. And since we've been we were hanging out, and then things just happened very quickly. Like, a friend of mine was going to play with them, and then that friend was dating Nick Cave's son, and she called them like by coincidence, and all these things. Just this is kind of the way rock and roll likes to find a way of making it happen when it's right.
Very good. Good point. Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. You're an actress too.
I have done some acting work. I mean, like starring in Vampiro y Vampira
Mhm.
as Noir. I think that's really just as an actor playing that part. I'd like to play a vampire. If anything else comes from after that'd be great. But I think, yeah, at this point in my life, that's a good part to play.
Right.
It's fun, and you can kind of like camp it up a bit, or it's I'm comfortable playing that kind of a role, something a
Right.
little theatrical, and so
Do you
we'll see
plan
what.
for it to be kind of campy or kind of funny, kind of serious, kind of like gory?
I want it to be not intentionally campy. I want it to be like
Romantic?
a Dario Argento movie.
Yes.
It's what it is, but
That's
of course
right.
we can't help but it being a little uh you know Douglas Sirk-ish in its scope, and it's a fantasy movie, and so everyone working on it has a nice big imagination, and you have to really pay tribute to the exoticas of Mexico, who like the Mexican wrestlers there's a Mexican wrestlers called exoticas,
Uh-huh.
and there's a couple of incredible ones who I love, and that's a real tradition there of being doing drag in the next level of being yourself and taking it to this place. They love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it be over the top. There's a soap opera telesposa-ness to the tone of it that's what would make it authentic.
I
It's
love that.
not so so.
I love that you brought up the Argento. That's because you're right about that. They're serious, but there's something funny about it, but there's something so artsy about it. And it's
Yeah.
all done in that just all has that same kind of background, that same visual. Like, oh, this is a Desjardins movie. I love
Yeah.
that. I've watched them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I love them too, and of course, we're not going to we have our own idea of what we want to look but then that idea of it having a fever dream, emotional feel to it is just the way it's going to be, just because of the nature of the subject that we're dealing with. I mean, it's
Right.
Mexican vampire lesbians, which are pretty fabulous.
Pretty fabulous, I would say, indeed. We got about 10 more minutes going on. Is there anything
Okay.
you want to talk to you about yourself? Anything you want to give an audience? Something to know, something you're doing, something. What are you doing in London?
I am running a hydrogen company.
Yes. What is that?
I started a company because I was doing content for energy companies. And then I realized that there was a place in the energy world for a company that was branded. The branding was just really weak, and no one knew what hydrogen was. So there was a place for educating people that was interesting, and also being clean energy and making it look cool, really.
Right.
And so I started a company to have research and development and promotion and content about clean energy or hydrogen or the future of this. And then it just took off and grew really quickly.
Wow.
And now we are here what we're doing is we're making on-site refueling centers. So with hydrogen for airports or for private places or anything like that, because oil and gas is no more.
Right.
And you can't, and to transport hydrogen is really dangerous and really expensive, and that's why we don't use hydrogen. So to create it on site is very possible, but it just was too big. So I started working with experts and started asking, how do you make it smaller? And just from that, they started thinking about how to use additive manufacturing and on-site electrolysis, which is like additive manufacturing is like 3D printing. And they've just started thinking about how to make it so that you can have it anywhere, really. And so we're kind of become world leaders in this way of thinking. And the people I'm working with are phenomenal, like just rocket scientists and genius. Hopefully it'll fund the movie. I know they'd kill me for saying that, but
it's amazing. It's just like, God, I'd like to spend like an hour inside your brain to see what goes on in there, because there's a lot going on. You know, you've done a lot, you're doing a lot, you're going to do more, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I love that. You know, God, where do you get the energy? Do you
I don't know. I quit drinking a while ago. That helps.
Okay.
Meditate. Been doing hot yoga for 23 years.
Yeah.
Like, and just, I don't know, you know, just try to keep staying open to possibilities.
Well, you look fabulous. You look, you know, incredibly young. You look like fit. You're fit and all that. And you look, it sounds like you lead a pretty nice, clean life. And I'm getting a feeling you put all that energy into your projects and what you want to do.
I think, you know, coming from like the pole, which was like the opposite of leading a healthy life, we were legitimately punk rock warriors. Right. Nothing phony about that lifestyle. And I,
it was hard.
You know, yeah, even the most hardcore people in Vancouver, they, you know, have to hand it to me and Jules for being it. So, you know, realizing though that if I had to make a decision that to kind of take control of my health and think about the longevity of where my career wanted to go, or you know, it would have been game over, really.
You seem very focused.
I am doing my.
Are you just that naturally to be focused? I find it very inspiring, especially in the world we live in today, to be so focused.
I think that, I mean, I know these are really boring answers, but meditation really changed my life.
Not boring.
It really comes to that. And you meditate twice a day. Mm-hmm. I do. I love it.
If you don't mind my asking, is there any spiritual thing you follow? Any gurus, any spirituality practice?
No, I think I'm a spiritual person, and I think I'm a philosophic person. Yes. But I haven't, and I think doing yoga and meditating helps me to stay balanced. It also helps me to remember what negative thinking does. It makes you lose your balance. And then I try to follow a vision faithfully, and then start a project and really make sure that it comes to fruition, and that I have finished projects and start the thing. That's the hardest part, really, I think, is being sequential.
I love that. Are you a reader?
I do try to read, but for the most part, I am very dedicated to study film, and I've been studying film for like very seriously studying films from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 70s, I think, and from German, like Fassbinder, British film, Italian films. That's a huge thing to undertake. Every film is 2 hours long, and there's thousands of films to get through, and so like that takes up a lot of my time, is to continue to be filmatic and get through catalogs and of people, directors' work, and like go through all of Truffaut's work.
Wow.
Then read everything about Truffaut, and then read about and then read about the artists that influenced him or who were influenced by him, and then watch everything they did, and then watch the cinematographer, everything they did, and how that follows with that, and just do my best to have that kind of an education. So
I love it. Rebecca, you are truly a blessed person. I can see that. I can see a lot comes from you. You shine. I love that you shine. And I could already tell that about you, that you were that kind of a person. It's just automatically there. Spirituality is there. You're blessed. Things are going to happen. And with that, I'm going to have to say goodbye.
Okay. It's just been an absolute pleasure. I have enjoyed this so much.
Oh, great. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it, and I feel very fortunate. And with that, good night. Goodbye.
Good night. Thank you.
Then.
Okay, Gabrielle. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Rebecca. Thank you.